and welcome to Family Matters here on Adventist Radio London, and I'm Barbara Lawrence. Today we're going to continue to explore the issues to do with intercultural marriage. Over this series we'll be looking at 8 topics in depth, and our hosts for this millennial series are Ruth and Brian Maxwell. Welcome, Ruth and Brian.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Great, let us pray. Dear Father, thank you for allowing us once again to come together on Adventist Radio London to discuss topics that affect our families in numerous ways. As we discuss and deliberate, please help us to think about how we can be inspired, informed and educated in the best interest, because we know that family matters. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, family does matter, and we're glad to be back in the show.
That's right.
Ruth.
Yeah.
And we're excited to look at food and gender roles, raising children and intimacy. These are the areas we'll be covering today. This is just going to be a brief synopsis. We'll cover these areas in greater detail in later shows. Now, I'll start with an easy one. With it, maybe let's look at food first.
Okay,
what do you think? Yeah, let's look at food. So, in terms of food, who does the cooking in your family?
Pass. I'll pass that over
Or maybe
to my husband.
I should hasten to add that our guest, Barbara Lawrence, whom you've just heard, and her husband, Pastor Augustus Lawrence, who's also the South England Conference Family Ministries leader. Maybe tell us a bit about that before we get into who does the cooking in your household. Yes.
Well, before we get to the fact that I do the cooking in my household,
Yay!
I just want to tell a little bit about some of the programs we have for 2019 Family Ministries Department. We have it coming up in April. This year we have a special seminar specifically for those who are thinking about marriage.
Just thinking about it.
Number one, also those who are planning to get married. So these are seminars specifically for premarital couples. We are not only, I say specifically, but not specifically, because we are also inviting those who are contemplating but they're not sure yet. They can also come to these seminars. These seminars will prepare you for marriage, expose to you the nature of marriage, what you should be expecting, and tell you a lot more about marriage and what it's all about and how you can get prepared for it if you intend to get married. That is the 21st of April. It will be held at the Starborough Center from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lunch will be provided, and we are asking those who are intending to come to please register with the South England Conference. Please call Legia Buzak, who is the secretary for the South England Conference Family Ministries Department. She will register you so that we can know how many people are coming for catering purposes.
Is this information available on the website?
It is available on our website, South England Conference website. Click on Family Ministries. Then you go to the events page, and all of these events are listed there. So this special seminar is on the 21st of April at the Starborough Center from 10 to 3 p.m. and it's about preparing for marriage.
Okay, in case for those that don't know, what is the South England Conference and what is the web address?
Well, the web address is secadventist.org.uk.
Okay.
Fantastic.
They can get information there, and they will not just get information, but they'll get a lot more than information on that page. Also, I want to introduce advertise the next marriage retreat.
Oh, come on.
The popular demand, Marriage on the Rock.
That's right. We went to one last year.
Yes,
Brilliant.
Marriage on the Rock 2. Now, this is for the last bank holiday in May this year, 24th to 26th of May 2019. At the De Vere Horsley Estate, and Pastor Freddie Russell and his wife Brenda Russell will be the facilitators for the special marriage retreat, and they only cost £250 per couple for the whole weekend. That includes bed, breakfast, dinner, lunch, dinner, for 3 days. Friday evening and Saturday, and then Sunday we leave after lunch. So that's the Marriage on the Rock, 24th to 26th May 2019, and it's £250 per couple. Please call the secretary at the South England Conference Family Ministries Department, Legia Busak, or go on the web page of the conference, and it'll give you further information how to register for this special event.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Okay, back to the topic, food. So you said you cook in your
Yes, I do.
household,
I do a lot of cooking, and I don't
And I'm
mind.
not ashamed to say it.
No.
I do a lot of cooking.
As an African man, I'm from Zimbabwe. As an African man, I am struggling to understand what you, an African, will be cooking in your household, and your wife does nothing.
I cook sometimes, Brian. Sometimes I cook.
In fact, she comes to me and asks me, "What's for dinner?"
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
That's a little bit painful, but
Amen.
what's for dinner? Can you imagine? Your wife comes to me and asking you, the husband, "What's for dinner?" It should be the other way around.
But
In fact,
isn't this
Why?
because this is what works? Because remember we talked about in the last show what works for your
works?
family.
well,
I
yes,
agree,
it does
Ruth.
work, but sometimes she sits there with her feet up.
Praise the Lord. Amen.
And
So,
I'm in the
so,
kitchen.
so let me understand this, Pastor Lawrence. So when your wife comes in at the door, you hand her her slippers,
Right? That's what you do, yes.
and the bath is already run, and the meal is already cooked.
No.
I want to do the meal. But to be honest, to be fair, she does do some cooking on some Fridays. But I do most of the cooking. I don't mind that.
He cooks better than me anyway.
But but she does the rest of the things in the house,
Yeah.
so I don't have to worry about clothes, ironing, and house clean and all of that. I have
Okay.
nothing to do with it.
So I'm getting a sense of that you share all the household chores.
Well, maybe she does more of that than I do, but the cooking, I do most of the cooking.
Okay.
But you talk about traditional food. Now, my family has a thing about this traditional food. They don't
Where's
like.
your family from, Pastor
Well, I'm from
Lawrence?
Liberia. I'm
Okay,
from
from
Liberia, West
Liberia, okay.
Africa. Now, my
And,
wife
and
doesn't.
Sister Barbara,
I
are you
was
from
born in-
Liberia,
No, I
West
was born
Africa?
in the UK. Born in the
Okay.
UK.
Now, yes, she was born.
Guyanese parentage, though.
Yes.
South America.
Okay, let's just get that in there.
Get that in there quickly.
Barbara has a problem with the odor of this delicious African food. You know,
Okay.
she sees the odor, but I see the taste. And, this thing is delicious. I don't know why she only smells, but I said you have a taste, taste and see, sister. But she has a thing about it. But when we go home, when we go to Africa, they enjoy the food. They get served. They get looked
Different
after.
lifestyle in Africa.
Yeah.
You know,
Very different lifestyle.
can you imagine my sisters? They serve my family. They serve the food. They serve everything they need.
Yeah.
And I ask, how come you don't serve me? You know, like the way my sisters are serving me and serving me food.
In fact, the
serving
funny
me-
thing is, when his sisters do come over and they serve him, I said, don't do that because he's going to expect it when you've left. So please don't do that. He's capable of getting up and going to the kitchen.
Wow.
And it's quite funny. I have a friend and she comes into the house and she sees my husband cooking
Yeah.
and she can't believe it.
Wow.
She can't, and him washing dishes, she can't believe it
Yeah.
because they don't do that in their country or their culture.
Yeah.
I said, excuse me, this is the 21st century.
No, what happened is that they live here in this country. Right? They
Right.
live here in this country.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the home,
Okay.
they maintain the
Traditions.
the
Right.
traditional culture back home.
Right.
So he comes home from work and he waits for his wife.
Okay.
Well, I'm from Zimbabwe, and traditionally, my culture, there was division in terms of gender roles. The men did all the strong. I'm a Tebele Zulu stock, so the men did all the outside hunting. We're hard, and you come home and there's a warm cooked meal. That's the expectation. In my household, my father was like the alpha male. He was served. He's late now, and my mom and the girls did the stuff. My mom, I only did the stuff because my mom didn't give me the choice. She was said, "Your father is the man of the house. You are not." So I had to learn to do everything, to cook and clean. So my mom was an equal opportunities employer. So I guess traditionally, the men didn't do anything in the house either. But the home when I was raised in, my mom and father decided that was the culture of our home. all the children are equal, boy and girl. You learn to do everything.
Yeah, but the thing about their family, and I respect this family, they're good friends, but that what works for them.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, exactly.
Anything different from that will not work.
No.
So I honor them. I celebrate what they do.
Their individual culture.
It works for them.
Yes.
But when they come over to my house, they want to interfere with what works for me.
Oh, are you feeling then that they are flying the flag in your house?
I said, no, that's not. I said, but listen, yes, I'm from America, but this is what works for us here in the United Kingdom. What works for us. But they are loving couples. They're good people.
And just a quick question on that, briefly. I mean, was this an evolutionary experience? Or was this straight from the outset, this is what we're doing? Or did you kind of...
gradually worked into it.
Because were there expectations at the beginning? It's like, okay, this isn't working out. Okay, no, this is what's going to happen.
Well, let me tell you what really happened.
All right. According to
Barbara, right?
Put it out there.
Barbara doesn't like cooking. She doesn't like cooking. So when she cooks this... Oh man, she cooks this food.
You need to be careful now. You're going
the way she cooks it, the way she knows how to. Okay,
I do quick cooking.
That's right.
All in one point.
Time allows.
Quick cooking, get it all together.
That's it.
No.
No, my husband's
so
different.
we take time to cook. But so we gradually worked ourselves into this. So it didn't just happen like that. We gradually worked into it, and so that's how we carry on. That's how we roll.
Even my son says, Mum, who cooked today? You or Dad? And there's a sigh of relief when I say Dad.
Oh, wow.
Like, hallelujah, we're going to have proper food.
Yeah.
What about your traditional food from your culture? Obviously, my wife's British. Of what extraction?
My parents are from Jamaica.
She's from Yard.
Yeah.
No. Backyard.
Yeah. So, does it matter, Sister Barbara, are you able to cook your husband's traditional foods?
No.
Okay.
And I don't.
Is it not a thing?
That was said with some emphasis.
Yeah. No, and I don't choose to learn. I don't want to learn, and he doesn't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Because he will cook it.
Right.
Exactly.
Or his family will bring what's that colour? Is it collard greens?
Collard greens, potato greens.
Yeah.
That's
they bring all that frozen from Africa.
And organic too.
Yeah, and he loves it. He just can't wait whenever they come over to bring that all frozen, and he just celebrates it and eats it, and I just watch him and say enjoy. But yeah, he loves all that stuff, and he will cook some stuff. He cooks some really nice food. He's cut down on some of the ingredients, like for example, is it the red oil?
No, I don't use red oil anymore.
No, he doesn't use that anymore, obviously because of health benefits.
Yeah.
So he's adapted his taste buds.
Right.
Oil, use a little bit, maybe a cook spoonful of oil. We use very sparingly. We look at the health benefits. We're very careful,
Yeah. So, but I'm happy for him to cook that stuff if he wants to. No problem.
That's it.
Yeah, I think we're a bit similar in that regard. I could cook all my traditional things, but you pointed something out to me that I didn't know. Go on, Ruth.
Yeah,
Share
so
that.
I've noticed if there's a reflective, let's call it a reflective period, it might be maybe slightly after an argument, possibly, or maybe they're just having a bit of a day, and I will see Brian, I will cook, dinner's ready, Brian will come in and be like, I need to cook some salsa, or I need to cook some mabele, and we realise that sometimes it's linked to maybe his reflective period, or he just needs to kind of touch base.
Sometimes you just need proper food.
Right.
So hang on a minute, what do you mean by proper food? What do you cook then?
She cooks really well, and the food's really tasty. But there's times when
that's right.
When you just need that food, that would just.
But you want that food after she slugged over half an hour, 45 minutes cooking.
We have a fridge.
Sometimes you need some salsa and some red kidney beans.
That's right. And you use your hand.
And your hand. That's right.
You can put her food in the fridge, and when we're ready for it, I'll eat it. Yeah, it's not.
He didn't even realize.
Detraction from her abilities. She can cook very well, but sometimes I just need to have my home food. Yeah, I didn't know. It's like a comfort blanket.
Yeah.
So does that happen very often?
No.
It's more of an indicator to me of how he is.
I didn't know that.
So you've kind of accepted that.
If he goes to cook and he's making that, then I'm like, okay. just check he's all right. How's your day? How's things going?
That's lovely.
Well, that I sometimes I just cook it because I miss it. Because there's nothing going on. I just miss it. Anyway, let's move on.
So there's no planning then in the cooking?
Sometimes, but
No, we
I mean, we
cook.
don't plan, but I mean, just saying that.
I look in the fridge. If there's no food and there's something that I like, I'll cook it. If she looks in the fridge, if there's nothing, then we cook.
Okay.
And sometimes you fancy something and you cook it.
Yeah, of
so
course.
I think we're 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on the cooking.
Okay.
But latterly, it's been probably like 70-30 with her doing it.
So I guess we want to know what works for others as well, don't we?
Yeah, that's the thing.
do.
Yeah,
We
so
do.
we want you to please email in studio@adventistradio.london, or you can text us at 82228, write the word hope and then your message. We really want to hear from you regarding the food topic or food issues, or even, what should the children eat? Should they be eating traditional food? Should they be trying it? Who cooks when? What function? So just please let us know.
And general household roles. Who does what
Who does
in the
what?
home? And why? We're interested in knowing, just so share with us regarding that information. Okay, so
We're back, and the next topic we're going to briefly look at is raising children. So, for anybody here at the table, do you think there are cultural expectations in regards to, first of all, the gender of your child, or having a baby? Are there any expectations, or are there any traditional preferences that kind of seep through when we're talking to people, or when you're having conversations with family or anything like that?
I don't know, actually. First of all, let me say that I was a late starter. I had my son at 38, the age of 38, and that's quite. I know that's quite late. And I would say that I never expected to have a child because my friends weren't having children. So it wasn't a thing that was at the forefront of my mind. But when I did have a child, it was precious.
Yes.
Very
Amen.
precious.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say that my child got everything he wanted and needed.
Okay.
And I think growing up with my mum, she ensured as a single parent that we got everything that we wanted.
Right.
Well, everything we needed first, and then our wants after. Not all of our wants. And my mum was very particular. Like, for example, culturally, for my mum,
You said your mom is from?
she's from Guyana.
Okay.
So let's talk about dress, for example. So I would have to wear a vest. Always wore a vest when I was a child growing up. And as I got older, I wore a slip.
Yes.
Yeah, always wore a dress and a slip. So when I got my son, he always wore a vest. No, not a slip, but he always wore a vest. He always wore a vest. In fact, he's wearing vests now. He's 18, he's wearing a vest now. But I see other children, when they come to my house, they don't have vests. And I think children need vests. That little under, I think they do. They need that little under something under their clothes. So that was one thing. And we have, when I was growing up, culturally, again, my mum, we had clothes for church,
Right.
clothes for playing outside with, in house clothes, we used to call it house clothes
Yeah.
in those days,
Yeah.
and clothes for if we were going to a party. So what we wore to church, we wouldn't wear to a party, and vice versa.
Right.
Clothes that we wore in the house, we wouldn't go out with. They were house clothes. And that's kind of how I started to bring my son up. So culturally, that's a cultural
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Because, I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
When I think about it, who cares, really? Because things have changed so much.
Yeah.
You know, young people wear anything to anywhere now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I went to church on Sabbath and they're wearing their jogging bottoms
Yeah.
and their tracksuits
Yeah.
and their trainers.
That's it.
It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
So I think culture did play a part in my early time of being a mother with my son. Not so much now, obviously, because he's 18 and he does more or less what he chooses. But for me, I think that was a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And that has come with me all the way through up until now.
Pastor Lawrence, a boy or a girl?
Well, they used to say a man is a man when he has a bald child.
Well,
So they always look for the firstborn to be a boy.
okay.
In the olden days?
In the olden
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
back in the day. And it was a serious thing. It was a very serious thing. And sometimes when the first child is a girl, sometimes there is an issue with attachment.
Yeah.
The parents, maybe the father in particular, will not embrace that child as he should have, because it's not a boy. But these are things that caused harm in the long run,
Yeah.
when parents didn't appreciate the birth that they have. And it's in fact, recently I was talking to a colleague of mine who, before his wife had given birth, he had named the child,
Wow.
but he's given the child a boy, a male name, for instance, David. He said David, called the child David. And when the mother, when his wife gave birth, he realized that it was not a boy. He was sad. He was very sad, and he reluctantly gave the girl a name that, give the child a name. But he said, I really wanted a boy. Even in the presence of the child, was saying to me, I really wanted a boy. We really wanted a boy. And the girl, in fact, his daughter was saying, yeah, my dad really wanted a boy, but he didn't get a boy. He got me.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
But back in the day, I think that the sex in terms of male, female, male was very important for them. But looking at it from our own perspective, I think my mother, I think what she was very particular about was the legacy she was leaving for her children, what she transmitted to us, the legacy, the values that she projected. And for her, one of the things she projected was independence, hard work, studying God, and so on and so forth. Yes.
Yeah. I think for me, growing up, I know me and my sister always joke a lot about this, but it was just us two, so we're girls. So it was, my dad was overtaken by females, but we feel that he treated us in some essences like boys. He'd be out in the garden, right, you're doing that, well, I'm going to show you how to fix, change your tire on a car, right, I'm going to show you how to overarm bowl. That was like a big deal, that we got taught how to do that, and we could overarm bowl and bowl someone out. We was very proud of that. And just things like we'd go somewhere, and he'd be like, right, come on chaps, come on men. And for us, it was like, okay, we're part of this. This is we didn't mind. We all almost felt like extra special that our dad was just treating us as if we were boys. So. I don't know. I found myself being quite not rough with our son, but very kind of like, we're just doing this. Let's do it. Let's go.
He loves it.
Yeah, and I find that I would say I'm a bit of a tomboyish girl. And obviously, in later life, and this is probably another show. It has some consequences in terms of how I view myself as a woman and as a female, and in terms of our marriage as well, actually. But I just found that for us growing up, I loved that element of that. I loved that.
Well, in my culture, a man must have a son.
First.
Yes, you want to pass your genes on, because this is you're Zulu, you're Matebele. You must have a boy. But however, in a household, my father's had 2 sons and 2 daughters. So he had a son before he married my mom. So he had 2 sons and 2 daughters. I think there was parity of treatment. There wasn't any special treatment for me as a boy. In fact, the expectation, I'm going to look at discipline later. Or next, let me look at that. In terms of beating, the discipline in my household meant beating. And I appreciate we're in the UK and there's different legislatives, and I'm in no way advocating corporal punishment where a child should be beaten. But I'm talking about my experience. Discipline meant you got a beating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so... there were times when I opted for the beating, because the thing that I wanted to do was you'd weigh up the consequences. Is this thing that I want to do that I know I'll get a beating on, is it worth it? And you go ahead and do it if you thought it was. But that was discipline. And maybe let's look at that from a couple's perspective. What does disciplining look like, and what should it look like?
Yeah, interesting. I'll let Pastor start with that one.
Well, discipline is to teach.
Okay.
Yeah, to discipline is to teach.
Yeah.
So
do you teach with a stick?
Hey.
No,
or a carrot?
No, but modeling.
Okay.
You're teaching by example.
Right.
Yes.
You are teaching by your life. You're teaching by what you do. You're teaching by what you say. But basically, you're modeling
Yeah.
values to your child.
Yeah.
In a different ways. You can teach it to them. You can say to them values of being and values of doing, two different
Okay.
things. You know, but it's modeling. That's the
Modeling
goal.
implies that you're doing that very thing yourself.
Yes.
Right.
And yes, and so we advocate that, and that is what we encourage parents to do. Back in the day, people had different style of disciplining, which some of my parents, when I was growing up, they used my mother. She didn't use a stick or a whip. She used a hand.
Okay.
She used to use a hand on my back.
Whoa.
Yeah, and her hand was like a steel. You know, she never used a stick or a belt, but she used a hand, and she would always go for my back, not my head, not my back, and what she would go for. And reflecting, and I said, "Wow, my mother, she was a strong woman. I appreciated her, and I still do appreciate her. But for her, she was also keen on teaching us values,
Okay. Yeah.
important values for life, and that is what I try to, share too."
Exactly. I'll share a bit more on this because I have a similar background. And one of the things that my father used to say to me is that you found this family name and it was in good condition. Make sure that when you leave, that you leave the name in good condition as well.
Yeah.
Good.
So that was one of the things, and you learned. I don't know. What about yourself, Barbara? What do you feel about disciplining children?
I am a disciplinarian, but I don't smack. I don't think Nathaniel's ever had a smack. Has he ever had a smack?
No.
Never had a smack, and he's 18.
And we knowing the boy, he's
Yes.
a well-developed
Yes.
young man.
Yeah. So you can discipline without smacking. We take things away from him.
Okay.
Things that he loves, he likes. When he was little, we used to take things away from, and that was more effective than smacking. So you have a loving tone when you're talking, and you're kind, and you're being a mother or a father, the nurturing. But when you're not, when they're misbehaving, you have a different tone,
Right.
and they
Yes.
know,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
That's it.
my dad's not happy with me,
Yeah.
because that tone is not what they normally use. And when I was growing up, culturally, I think a lot of people recognise this, the look.
Oh.
If you were out and about, your mum, and you were doing something naughty, your mum would just have to look at you, and you knew that look meant wait till you get home.
Right.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So there are different ways to discipline a child, and I know smacking is not being advocated these days for various reasons, which we won't go into now.
And for very good reasons.
And for very good reasons, of course. So we have to find other alternatives that works for your
That's
child, because what will work for my child wouldn't necessarily work for your child. So you have to find what works for your child, and that's really, really important.
I think all this comes back to the whole thing about creating your own culture within your family. I know with us, we, when we were younger, there might have been this smack and this, that, and then you get a bit older and you get a bit braver and a bit more, I can handle it. So, for us, my mum realised, okay, well, you've got your pocket money, so you are responsible for your pocket money, and if you are not adhering to the rules, and you get fined. So fining was a thing in our house.
I wish I was fined in my house.
Wow.
I would have taken a fine any day.
But the thing is, though, that little pocket money was if you wanted chocolate or crisps for your lunch, that's what you'd buy. That's what you'd use. So, but I mean, sometimes by the end of the week, you'd be minus. If you had a bad week, and you'd have to work that up. But that really had an impact on us. There wasn't the chasing up the stairs with the slipper trying, hit you or whatever. It was, you had to really think, is this worth it? Let me think ahead. What is it that I really want? Okay, how am I going to ensure that happens? How is my behaviour going to affect what I want the endowment to be? And that really
I have to say, my heart is filled with envy at your childhood. I would have taken a fine. I would definitely have taken a fine. But what does finally, just briefly, what does the Bible say about disciplining or raising a child
Well, the Bible teaches that parents have a responsibility to teach.
Okay.
A responsibility for modeling, responsibility for training, nurturing, train up a child in the way he should go.
You're a Bible student. What does the word train up? What does that actually mean?
Well,
if you break it down.
Well, so in that verse, you have you have the plan.
Okay.
You have the principle. And you have the process.
Break it down.
Yes. So it's the plan, the principle, and the process. God wants us to have a plan. He wants to have the principle, and He wants to have the process in which we ought to train it.
How do we do it, kind of thing?
How we should do it. How we should do it. What we should do. Train up a child. What is it to train a child? Train a child on principle, life principles that will sustain them. Principles that will help them to be responsible adults.
That's right.
It's to train up the child. You train by talking.
Yeah.
You train by being. You train by doing. You train by transmitting values.
Yeah.
Okay? And how do you do it? Once in a while, you always do it. Morning, noon, and night. You find different ways of doing it. So those are the three things: the plan, the process, and the principle.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Now, this is a huge topic, and we're hoping that people are going to be writing in, emailing, texting. So if you want to email, type in studio@adventistradio.london. If you want to text us at 8222 write the word hope and then put your message in. This is huge because we've got the other side of it in terms of what happens when you can't look after your children, that side, and culturally, issues to do with bringing in social care and things like that, and supporting each other but using maybe government services and things to do with mental health and all sorts. So this is a big topic, so please contact us.
For this final session, we're going to look at intimacy, and I'm just going to go straight in. Double bed or twin beds?
Twin. No, I'm only joking. Double, of course. But I don't know if that's age related.
Right.
What are you saying?
What am I saying?
Do young people prefer twin beds or double beds? To older persons? What are you saying?
I don't know, because sometimes you do need a bit of space.
I'll just lay that down.
Oh yeah, so I'll give you a little story. Shall I give you a little story?
Please.
I co-own a charity shop, and I was in the charity shop one day, and one of the volunteers she'd just come back from holiday with her partner, and she said that I went into my bedroom and he went into his because she had sore skin. But I said, "What? You have your own bedroom?" She said, "Yes, I have my own bedroom." I said, "What do you mean, literally your own bedroom?" She said, "Yes, he has his bedroom with his wardrobe and his clothes, and I have my bedroom with my wardrobe and my clothes." So I started giggling because I thought it was quite funny, and I said, "Is that normal?" She goes, "Oh yeah, it's been like that from day one."
Wow.
I said, "Wow, that is really interesting," and I couldn't stop laughing because I thought it was hilarious. I've never known that to happen before, but when I think about it, it's not such a bad idea, because you can get together anytime, but sometimes like snoring.
Okay, yeah.
Let's talk about snoring.
The snoring thing,
Snoring thing. If my husband goes to bed before me and I happen to go into the bed after and he's snoring his head off, I can't sleep. I have to punch him to wake him up. And he gets really annoyed when I wake him up because he's obviously very tired and he wants to sleep, but I can't sleep if he's snoring.
Right.
And that's where I think separate rooms might come in handy.
I don't know about
and I can't send him to I can't send him to the spare room because we don't have a spare room.
People make up stories, but the thing is, these separate bedrooms is because of wardrobe space. People fuss because of
that too.
Wardrobe. They have so many things.
Yeah.
That they
takes up 2 rooms.
That's right. They take up all this space. And they leave you with this little space to put all your things.
Oh my, that felt a bit heartfelt. That came from deep.
We've got almost equal.
As a result, some people I understand why people want to have separate rooms, to keep the things separate. Some females, they have space they have 2 wardrobes for shoes, another 2 wardrobes for dresses, for blouses. They take up everywhere.
Oh dear. But I think it might be I don't know whether it's a millennial thing, I don't know what the millennials will think about this, so it would be really interesting to hear what they have to say.
Yes, and
because time has moved on though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, do we? Let me just stay on point.
Go on.
Do Christians have sex for fun?
Well, it should, but
What does the Bible say about sex? Is sex?
the Bible has a lot to say about sex. It has multitude of things to say. Things that we understand, but yes, the Bible has a lot of things to say about sex.
Okay, let me ask a different question. Is intimacy purely physical? Intimacy within a marriage?
No, I think it's 4-dimensional,
Right.
all dimensional.
Okay.
It's not just physical.
Yeah.
It's every dimension of the person's being. It's intimate. Should be intimate.
But I think though, to be honest, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the physical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's where it falls apart.
Right.
Because it's not only physical, and I don't know whether they have, when you have premarital counselling, whether it talks about, it must talk about intimacy. And I think the emphasis should not only be on physical,
Right.
because if it is, then we've all failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you said that it's 4-dimensional. You know, there's got to be more to it than just the physical. It could be, I mean, I'm thinking about giving your wife flowers if she likes chocolates. I'm not saying that you should, but I'm just saying just the little things outside of the physical
Right. Right.
is intimacy.
Right.
You know, holding, I mean, if you like holding hands in public, if you like putting your arms around your wife
Right.
or your husband, or
So is this like
arm
love
in arm,
languages,
yeah,
you know?
I mean, that's all intimacy, isn't it? It's not just about having sex, you know, and that's it, you move on.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. Cooking a meal, a nice
Wow.
meal,
Oh yeah.
that's all intimacy.
Wow.
You know.
Okay, let me go. We have about a couple of minutes or so left in the show. So let's look at I was thinking of okay, you can have physical intimacy. What about the emotional intimacy? Is that necessary? Well, how is that worked out for you guys? Do you find that you can open up to one another in an emotional sense?
Well, go ahead.
I think I think you can, and I think sometimes it's not always possible, depending on how the other person is or how you're feeling. And you should be able to, but it's not always possible. And I think, and that's for various reasons. It could be for sickness. It could be there's there's an issue, a personal issue going on for yourself, you know, that you can't always open up to your other party, as you may have been able to when you were, you know, younger or earlier on in your relationship. You know, but intimacy is a huge subject, and I know it's divisive. It can be very divisive. So that's why it's really important that young couples, look into it. There's so much help out there. You know, don't be scared to go and seek some advice, read a book or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's a big thing. Because that's where sometimes you might find that your husband says, right, I'm not getting it from my wife, so I'm going to go elsewhere.
Right.
Lord have mercy.
You know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be physical all the time.
Right.
It doesn't have to be. So we just need to be really careful and be sensitive.
This is it.
Be sensitive to your other partner, your other, you know, your spouse.
So this is just a small
touch.
This is just a touch. So we really want to jump into this hugely, you know, for a whole show. Please email us at studio@adventisradio.london. Text us on 82228. Write the word hope, have a space, and then put your message in, or your solutions, or shows that you've watched, or seminars, anything like that will actually just help somebody else. We are all novices. We're all learning. I don't think anyone ever graduates from this school. And so, you know, anything that you can share would be greatly beneficial. Well, we have come to the end of today's today's show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been lovely.
Been lovely.
Thank you for our lovely guest,
Yes.
Pastor Augustus Lawrence,
Thank you.
and the lovely
Thank you. It's a
Barbara
pleasure.
Lawrence.
Thank you.
Brilliant. And so on our next show, we're going to kick off for properly with the purpose of marriage, with some of your comments, some of your stories and solutions. We're really excited about it. And so please tune in and send us lots of information. We're going to end with Reckless Love, wonderful,
By Corey
song.
Ashby.
So thank you very much.
Yes, just before we go on to that song, I'd just like to thank Ruth and Brian who are co-hosting this particular series. And Ruth and Brian, would you, if anybody wanted to come on the show with you to talk about any of these topics, would you be willing?
We would love that. We would love that. We want as wide as a breadth of information and
Yes.
input as possible.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please.
Brilliant. So thank you once again. You've been listening to Family Matters here on Adventist Radio London. Please tune in again. Have a great week.